everybody, welcome back to Fish the Mark. Appreciate you joining in the channel and seeing what we've got going on in this video. We just got back from fishing in July, Newton Lake for 3 days with 7 other friends. So 8 of us went down and fished for 3 days. One of our buddies, Joe, and his family were moving to Phoenix, and so this was kind of a last trip before he moved out to Arizona. And so Joe, I know you're already out in Arizona, and appreciate the time that we had, and it was a lot of fun, and good luck in Arizona. Look forward to the next time we get to see you. So we went down to Newton Lake in Southern Illinois and fished for 3 days. We're gonna have 3 videos out of this, one for each day. And so let's kind of jump in and start looking at what we did during the 3 days, or the first day down at Newton, excuse me. So again, we went down kind of the middle of July down to Newton. It was hot, right? All 3 days was 90 degrees each day. 2 of the 3 days, the sun was just beating down on us. Water temps on the hot ditch side were in the 90s, mid 90s during the day. The cool side, they were low 90s. So water was hot. The power plant was running. They were cranking out electricity because everybody's running their air conditioners because of how hot it was. So, there was a really kind of question whether or not, even out of 3 days of fishing, I'd get enough fish to have one video. And Newton showed that it's a good lake. We caught fish all 3 days. We caught some nice fish. We didn't catch a bunch of huge ones combined on the 3 days, but we did catch some nice fish, and we caught quite a few fish, really. And we did not hit it super hard. There was a lot of fun on this trip. I would say we fished semi-hard during the trip, and we still caught quite a few fish each day. So Newton showed out to be a good lake. So for those of you who don't know, Newton is southeast of Effingham, Illinois. So this is Route 70 and Route 57 intersect at Effingham. You go southeast from there, probably 25, 30 miles, 20 miles, and you get to Newton Lake. Newton Lake is a pretty decent sized lake. It's over 1,700 acres. It's deep. There's not very many places that you have to worry about when you're running your boat. There's water 30, 40 feet deep in places at Newton, but the average depth is 16 feet. So you can pretty much run your boat anywhere. There's, you get too close to shore, of course, you're gonna have problems, but it's a good lake for running the boat on. Interesting for it being as big a lake as it is and as deep as it is, it's only got the 25 horsepower limit, and they have not, the DNR has not gone on this lake what they've done on other lakes. Other lakes in Illinois, like Banner Marsh and Spring Lake and Sandcrest, if you have over 25 horse, you can idle, and under 25 horse, you can go whatever speed you want. Newton is not that way. If you're over 25 horse, it's trolling motor only. If you're 25 and under, then you can run as fast as your boat will go. Looking at the fishing outlook from the DNR, they've been working on improving the crappie fishing. The bluegill fishing they rated as poor, and I tell you, we didn't see very many bluegills, so I believe that the fishing is poor for bluegill. Catfishing is excellent, and again, I believe that as well. We weren't fishing for them, but every boat each day caught at least one catfish. So the catfish are definitely in there and are taking off and doing well. They rate the bass fishing is very good. I think Newton's probably one of the best lakes in the state. We were down there, middle of July, power plant lake, getting tons of hot water poured into it from the power plant, and we still caught pretty decent fish. So I think it held up as one of the best lakes in the state. And they rate the white bass fishing is very good. We were down there for 3 days. I don't know of anybody that caught a white bass while we were down there. We weren't fishing for them, but just you would think that we would stumble into them. But we'd see them busting shad, but we never caught any of them. So I thought that was interesting that that's rated very good, and we didn't really catch any of them. There's a little bit of background and history here on Newton Lake for you. One of the things that's interesting is tournaments were prohibited in June, July, and August because of the heat and the stress that the heat and the tournament would put on a fish being in the live well all day. So those tournaments were prohibited in June, July, and August on the lake. So Newton's kind of a V-shaped lake, as you can see here. The hot water discharge is up here on the northwest side. Hot water comes down around on cold water intakes over here. And so, you know, this side is called the warm water arm. This side is called the cold water arm, and the dam's down here at the bottom. We put in this southwest corner in the warm water ditch is where we put in each day. We had 8 guys. We had 4 boats. Tim and I fished together all 3 days. So Tim's going to be who you see in the boat with me, and Tim had some. Tim did some really good fish catches that you'll enjoy in the video. So it'll be you know, it's a good trip. And like I said, we'll make 3 videos out of this, one for each of the 3 days. So on day 1, got there a little bit before everybody else did. So I went fishing for a while by myself. Over here, I caught a few in this first spot on this point, and working back into these little coves here, throwing a excuse me, a rocket craw, which you guys have seen me throw a bunch. Can't believe I forgot the name since I throw it all the time. Up in the shallows, all on the cattails and the weed line. Caught a few out there. When I'm back into this area here that we call Long Cove, there's down trees in there, and went in there and caught several fish again on the rocket craw. And then it was time to go back and meet at the ramp and pick up Tim. So Tim and I left after I picked up Tim. We went up to this point right here, and just we're doing traditional fishing on a point. We were out in about 20 feet, 18 feet of water, casting up into about 4 or 5 feet of water, dragging our lures back really slow, at times almost dead sticking them in that. We ended up catching 4 or 5 bass up there doing that in probably a half hour of fishing. I was throwing a jig that I'll show a little bit later. Tim mixed it up between a jig and kind of a power drop shot rig that he does. With a little bit heavier weight and a little bit bigger lure than we normally see on a drop shot. I don't have pictures of Tim's lures, so I'll just kind of talk through them a little bit as we go through the next 3 days. So we got done fishing here, and we ran down and started fishing the cold water side. We went several different places. We finally got on the fish again. There's a brush pile back here that we got on a nice fish here. And then we came down and we fished down here, and there's a shelf with a variety of deep water drop-offs on it. And we caught several fish out of here, and you'll see that on day 3, this spot was a key spot for us on day 3, where we figured something out there. But we caught some nice fish on day 1 and through there as well. So with that, I think we'll jump in and take a look at the fish catches, and then come back and show you the lures that we caught them on. All right, here we are out on the lake, day 1, Newton, July 2022. And I mentioned that I started on a point on the cold water side, kind of down by the dam, and I'd worked back into this cove a little bit, pitching a rocket craw. And so this is the first fish on the rocket craw that I caught out here. You know, just nice little 13-incher, kind of give me a little bit of clue that the fish were going to be hitting, right? It might have been a 14-incher. Give me a clue they're going to be hitting. Now I've moved back into that long cove that I talked about earlier, and I told you I've caught some out of these trees here. So every time I'd find a down tree, now you see the water has a little more color in it because I'm back in that cove. And so I flip up there and pull this one out of the tree. This one was about 15 inches, so the fish are starting to get a little bit better. Still not exactly what we're looking for, but kind of figured out that I think we could catch fish, you know, doing that all day long. You know, we could have gone around the whole lake, flipping trees and flipping the grass. I think we would have caught fish. Might have occasionally caught a decent one, but I think it was more likely we were going to catch a bunch of these 13, 14 inches like I caught. So caught another fish doing this, and then went back to the ramp and picked up Tim. And so, you know, everybody can say hi to Tim right here. There's Tim. Hey, Tim. And so this is where we moved up on that point that I talked about on the hot water side. we're casting up in about 4 feet of water and dead sticking our lures back. In fact, this one here, Tim thought he was dead sticking it so much he thought he was hung up, and then he caught one. And so here we got Tim bringing in as the first fish off this point, kind of giving us a clue. This is with that power drop shot that I talked about, where you had probably a 3/8 ounce weight and a little bit bigger plastic on it than we typically see with the drop shot. That's why I was calling it a power shot. Ended up being like a 16-inch bass that Tim catches here. So it's a nice fish that he brings in the boat. And actually, I think it might have been closer to 17 if I remember right. And then same point. This time I'm throwing that jig up there and get a hit, and got this fish on and bringing him in. Just a little guy, like a 13-incher. Get him in the boat, 14-incher, 13. He's probably 13. That I got in the boat, and so then I throw the jig back out there again and get another hit, the same spot. This one here's, we're still on the same point that we started at, right? We've been on the same point the whole time. Oh, and that one came off of the boat. He was probably 15, 16-incher. I got a pretty good view of him right at the boat when I went to boat flipping. We're still fishing that same point. I turned the boat around because the wind was pushing us off the point, so I turned it around. So instead of fishing off the left side of the boat, we're now fishing off the right side of the boat, but we're still fishing that same point. And hook into another one, comes up and takes it. You know, we're catching these fish out of about 8 feet of water right now. That was a 17-incher, didn't quite make the 18-inch limit that's on the lake, but you know, not a bad fish. Then we ended up talked about how we moved to the spot where we were where I went back into the trees there a little bit again and tried fishing a little bit shallower. And so Tim hooks up here, excuse me, with one. You'll know when Tim hooks one up. If it's a big one, I come back and help flip it. If it's not a big one, I make him boat flip it. So he boat flipped that one. You can kind of see there for a second on this one right at the end. If I can get it to hold right there. Boy, it's really hard to see. The little green pumpkin lure that he was using on that drop shot. So he had it tied on there, and then he had about a foot leader, about a 3-ounce weight underneath it. And so we're going along fishing through these trees, fishing through different things. I'm back to throwing the rocket craw, and it's hard to see because Tim decided to stand up right when I caught a fish, but talked about that catfish being excellent fishing. Well, there's one right there. Got a catfish out of about, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet of water while we were trying to flip the trees, and Tim's actually trying to catch some fish fishing out into the middle of that channel a little bit there. And now, one of the reasons why I wanted to show this fish, I mean, it's a catfish. You guys probably don't care if I caught a catfish that way or not. But right here, like 2 casts later, I flip up there with my green pumpkin rocket craw, get smacked, miss it, and then I wanted to throw back up there before he got away. So I had a green pumpkin rocket craw tied on another rod. And so I flip up there. This is after I already missed him with the green pumpkin. This is the black and blue one that I tie it on and throw up there and hooked up. I think it's the same fish. I could be wrong. I caught him about 3 feet away from where I got the first hit up there. I think it's the same fish. But this one ended up being 18.5, so he ended up being keeper by Newton Lake standards. So was happy to get on the board with an over down there, and kind of a skinny dude, but made the length limit. So we're excited about that. Now we've moved out to, if you remember back on my map, we've moved out to that shelf that I talked about, and we're fishing the drop off. So the shallow water of the shelf, I mean the deep side of the shelf, but before the drop off is about 7 feet deep, and then it drops off down to about 14 feet. And so we're sitting out in 16 feet, casting up into about 6, and bringing it down to where that shelf drops from 8 feet down to about 12 feet, and that's what we're fishing here. And Tim gets hooked up, almost lost his rod. Tim makes it exciting every time he sets the hook. This one ended up being a nice fish. Ended up being one of the better fish of the day. He's now throwing a football head, a green pumpkin football head jig, and so he went to a jig for fishing through here, and got that fish. I think he came off right at the boat, and that's why you don't get to see him. And then we go back, right back at it, and I pick up a DT10 and throw up there, and lo and behold, we get one on a moving bait. It's first time this trip that we got one on a moving bait. First time we got one on a crankbait, and nice 17-incher, 16 3/4. Got on the DT10, cranking it right off that shelf. I cranked it right along the bottom in the 6 to 8 feet of water, came off the shelf, and that fish smacked it. And then Tim gets another one. This time he gets a good hook set on this one. Doesn't make it near as entertaining to watch. And this ends up being another nice fish for Tim. He ended up getting in a groove of this football head jig that he got over the next 3 days. He ended up catching quite a few fish on it and dragging it through, 6 to 15 feet of water, and did pretty well with it. So here we are bringing in this one. Ended up being just short of 18 inches. Ended up being like 17 3/4. Now one thing before we, sorry about that, operator error. So this is the last fish I'm going to show of the day, but one of the things I want to show throughout this is that I am wearing throughout the trip a long sleeve shirt and this mask over my face. I wear the Huk one, is the one that I prefer to wear. These are SPF Shirt, SPF Gaiter that I wear over my head. I've had a variety of skin cancers over the years, and it was from fishing for years without a shirt on and fishing for years without a hat on and stuff. And so I think it's important that everybody do some skin protection for them to help prevent them from getting skin cancer later on. So make sure that you're dressed and prepared for the weather, and that means being prepared for hot sunny days with some skin protection. So those are the fish catches from day 1. We'll come back next week with day 2, and then the following week we'll have day 3. So thanks to everybody, and let's go take a look at the lures that we use to catch these fish on. So you see, we had a pretty good, pretty productive day on day 1. First time we fished the lake in the summer. First time I've ever fished that lake in the summer, and first time I've been there since November of last year. So it was fishing completely different than it had any other time in the past, but we figured it out and caught some fish. So here's my rocket craw that you guys have seen me fish a bunch, 3/0 Gamakatsu hook, 1/4 ounce tungsten weight. The jig fishing that I did was with a 1/2 ounce Strike King jig with a Rage Claw trailer on it, green pumpkin, a little bit of orange on it. And then the one that I caught on the DT10 that you saw was the shad color DT10. And so those are the lures that I caught them on day 1. And you'll see on day 2 and day 3, it's pretty much those two lures for day 2 and day 3, with the exception of a buzz bait on or early morning on day 2 that I'll show tomorrow or show in the next video. So with that, I appreciate you coming in and joining the video. Let me know what you'd like to see us do. Other ways you'd like to see us fish, other techniques you'd like to see us talk about, other things you'd like to see me share on these videos when I go to the lake. Let me know if there's something down at Newton that you find successful, especially in the summertime, which is an unusual time to go to a power plant lake, but it worked out really well for us. And I'd like to thank Tim for allowing me to videotape him and for him being part of the video session, and thank all the guys for the trip. We had a really good time, and thanks everybody.